I'm Lucky. Good morning, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are on YouTube. I was flicking through Twitter the other day, and there's a gentleman on there who I really enjoy his content. He's also on YouTube, called Hubnut, and he's well worth checking out, particularly if you've got an interest in unusual or cars that used to be commonplace that are now not seen regularly anymore. Things like Vauxhall Coltons and various Citroens like GSAs and things like that. And he's noticed that more frequently now he's getting abusive comments from, well, let's be honest, trolls, stating that his old cars pollute too much and he should get rid of and get new cars, and general attack. And it kind of made me think, aside from the fact that what anyone else does is nobody's business but theirs, and as the saying goes, if you want to bring people over to your cause, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So just going out as aggressively, whatever it is, aggressively vegan, aggressively environmentalist now, doesn't work. It actually pushes people away from your cause. So militancy is simply nonsense. But that's by the by. So, but it was one of those things that made me realise that what people forget is they're not necessarily seeing the full picture. And I'm a perfect example of that, because obviously the drag racing is not what you'd call environmentally friendly. It's very much a high pollution sport. It's not something you'd want to do from an environmental point of view. And it could be construed as pure wastage in terms of fuel and nitrous oxide and all those sort of things. So on the face of it, I'm an eco-terrorist, but the odd thing is I'm not. I wouldn't go as far as to say passionate, but I'm very aware and conscious of the environment. I recycle. I am a big advocate for a number of environmental things. I am absolutely in favour of solar and wind power, and I completely agree more needs to be done. And there are several things, like driving an SUV, that to me are largely incompatible with what we need to be doing in life. So how does that sit? How do I reconcile that with my sport? Well, actually, the answer is quite simple. So what I do, look, I'm on it now. My normal transport, Monday to Friday, in anything other than terrible weather, pretty much 7 or 8 months a year, is this little 125. Do you know what? It's great fun. I love riding it. It does 130 miles per gallon. So yeah, sure, when I'm racing I might seem like an eco-terrorist, but the reality is my carbon footprint is typically lower than the average person's. I only do these things very sparingly. And that brings about another point. So people like Ian Seabrook, Hubnut, he will go in and obviously drive an old car, an old 80s or 70s car, and yes, its tailpipe emissions are bad. But what people are forgetting is that those cars aren't driven massive mileages. He doesn't do 30,000 miles a year. And the other problem is, one of the major flaws in the everyone should drive a new car or whatever, is that the manufacturing process, whether it's an internal combustion or an electric car, is simply the biggest polluter that car will ever do. Once it's been manufactured from an environmental point of view, the best thing you can do is run it for as long as possible. It simply doesn't justify recycling it into something else if it's running perfectly. You could take my own car, which is now 10 years old, in fact, no, 12, it's a 2009 model. I only do 200 miles a month in it. I have it mainly because I need to tow and occasionally carry large objects, but I do a minimal mileage. That car, in the rest of its lifespan, in the next 10 to 15 years, and it's not unfair to say it could last until it's 25 years old, that is a perfectly reasonable lifespan for a car, will never ever emit as much out the tailpipe as the pollution of needlessly manufacturing another new car. Even more so if that new car then has to go around the world. So bikes again are great because per container you get many more of them per container than you do with cars. This one was basically scrap when I got it. There was no basically about it. It was scrap when I got it. This was about to be recycled into bean cans. With a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of skill, It's now a fun, practical, economical commuter and local runner. I mean, I'm doing a little run over to the workshop now, and I am going to use 300ml of fuel doing it. There is no public transport. There is nothing I could do to get over there on that 8 or 9 mile journey that is cleaner than this. The bike almost was recycled, so its footprint from manufacturer is now effectively nil. It is putting out minuscule quantities of pollution. It is using minuscule quantities of fuel, but it is what I call perfectly adequate transport. It is enough to get one person anywhere. So the challenge is this, because public transport doesn't always work. I went down to the ice rink last night to go skating, and must have been 3 or 4 trains in the time that I walked past the railway line. None of them had anybody in. Buses only work when they're full. So yes, on the morning commute they may be cleaner. However, that is completely offset, or generally offset, by the fact they aren't always fully loaded. Also, the average bus journey is nearly twice as long as a car or motorcycle journey, because it has to follow a route. My commute on this, which is about 8 miles, takes 2.5 hours and covers nearly 16 miles if I were to use a bus. It's not viable. It's not viable. I mean, they work great for some people, and in situations like London where it does really truly work, it's a viable option. However, across the board, the pressure should be on everyone to find the right transport solution for them. Now, that doesn't mean you should have a free-for-all and everyone should drive around in V8 Range Rovers, because they shouldn't. What people need to do is look at the transport that is correct for them, and that doesn't mean what they want but what they need, and use it. And I think small motorcycles have a really prominent part to play in this, because they will get the average person around on the average journey really well. We need to start signalling the virtues or encouraging the use of small powered two-wheelers, because in a lot of circumstances, for a lot of people with short to medium length commutes, they are the ideal solution. But right now, what is this bike doing? And those 2 cars in front aren't. I mean, they're carrying me along. In fact, I'm catching them without any effort at all. I'm doing 3 or 4 times the economy that they are. They're probably using 4 times as much fuel as me. And I can see from here, you probably won't see on the video, but I can see from here, both of them only have 1 person. So there you go. Just simply abusing someone on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, or simply calling them out because your perception of what they do doesn't fit your own narrative, is absolutely inaccurate. Wait until you actually know the facts, because you may only be seeing a small snapshot and they may be completely offsetting in other ways. So there you go. That's the situation. If you want to encourage people to be environmentally aware, or you want to, promote the virtues of certain lifestyle choices or diet choices, simply attacking people is going to push them away from your cause. You will not gain followers and supporters doing that. So there you go, a little rant. Now next weekend I'm going to completely done all this good work, because it is the Euro finals at Santapod. We're in a 950 bike. If you are watching any of the live streams from Santapod, come and say hi, or watch, if you're watching the live streams, keep an eye out for us. It's the black and green Kawasaki ZZR. Everything, if it works, is going to look good for us, but drag racing is a fickle sport. The previous event at the Greenlight Nationals, I thought was on a flying pass in qualifying. The bike launched well. It absolutely screamed up to the 8th, and then decided to drop a plug and misfire, and we ended up having to back out of it, because the last thing you want in the world on a nitrous bike is a misfire. So I had to roll off the throttle just after half track. So it was a one-shot qualifier. Fortunately, one of the other guys broke out, so we still qualified 5 out of 6. It was a small field. Unfortunately for us, the timing ticket was absolutely on the money for a low 9.50. It was to the 100th of where our 955 was. And number 1 qualifier was taken by a 961, so had the bike not have broken down, the odds are would have put it at the top of the stack again. But there you go, that's life, it's what happens. I mean, you don't get an easy pass, you can't play the what if game. So we've got new plugs in it, we've had a good check over, we put a new full throttle switch on it, done a bit of rewiring. Let's see what happens next weekend. At some point I want to try and bring you a little video showing what it actually takes to make a ZR 1100 go 9.5 seconds, because believe me, it's a lot. There's almost nothing left in that bike that was original Kawasaki through and through. So there you go, that's enough of my rambling. I'm not very far from the workshop now. In the meantime, if you like these videos, hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you soon in another video.